Hello, welcome. I'm Ruben Cornell. This is episode 64 of the Samplecast, and it's an absolutely full, stuffed, packed show this week. Our main review is Audio Imperia's Jaeger, and we've got updates, we've got progress reports, we've got bargains later on in the show, but we're going to start off without any further ado with this week's news. So first up, Audio Rewards Recirculate. This is the second product in their Dosa engine series, which is designed to manipulate sound and output audio that subtly shifts over time, and that adds movement and interest. Recirculate runs in the full version of Kontakt 5, and it contains mostly synthetic cinematic soundscapes and pads. So you've got 80 patches on board there with 151 snapshots, and this runs in the full version of Kontakt 5.7 and above. I did have the chance to test this out and give it a go, and I really love the sounds and the kind of drifting analog feel of the oscillators. This results in timbres which are thick and authentically vintage, and they still sound pretty fresh. I really like the sound of this product. It's highly recommended, especially as it's only about 20 quid on the Kontakt Hub website, so do check it out. One of this week's big releases is Spitfire Audio's Olafur Arnalds Chamber Evolutions. This is the third collaboration between BAFTA award-winning Olafur Arnalds and samples a smaller group of string players performing both single notes and evolving phrases. In fact, this matches the format of Spitfire's chamber strings library perfectly, so those two play pretty well together. Like most other Spitfire libraries, it's been recorded at Air Studios in London, and some patches do use the Evo grid engine in Kontakt Player 5.6.8 and above. There are the usual 4 microphone positions here for these dissonant, evolving and subtle phrases, and you can randomise these within the engine as well. It's only just been released, so there's more information over at the Spitfire website. Cinetools continue their domination of the hybrid effects market, and this is Witchcraft. This is a 13GB collection of 1,750 sound effects. These are focused on dark sounds with an elemental twist, as they've categorised these samples into themes such as fire, water, ice and acid, amongst many more. I really like the way that Cinetools always split up their libraries and the sounds there so that you can create your own sounds from the individual elements. I really appreciate that. This is the kind of thing that's going to be useful for sound designers, trailer composers and anyone who needs kind of impacts and transitions. Do check it out at the link in the show notes. Another big library, 66 basses from 8DO. This has just been released, so I've not had the chance to have a proper play with it yet, but suffice to say it's sounding pretty epic from the demos and the video walkthroughs. This is a sampled ensemble of 66 bass players, including sustains, shorts, arcos and multiple effects as well. 8DO have taken the samples and twisted them also into analog style ensemble synth patches. These sound pretty nice. Some people are going to ask, why was this even done, sampling so many basses, but to be honest I say why not. There are many mic positions here, and this includes a binaural position which sounds great in the walkthrough videos. You will need the full version of Kontakt 5.6 or above to run this. It's a 28GB library, but for a full rundown of all the articulations and the functions, do check out the 8DO site. So here's an interesting company to get your teeth into. This is Trailer Elements from TH Studio Production. The TH here stands for Tihomir Hristazov. I really hope I've pronounced that correctly, but he's a Bulgarian composer, so I probably haven't. He's created Trailer Elements, which is a library of 140 hits, booms, drones and such like. It's just over a gig of content, and there are WAV and simple instruments for the full version of Kontakt 5.6.6 and above. It's priced pretty fairly at €49, so that's a bit of a bonus. And he's a one-man band developer who has a few other libraries to his name. Do check out the details on the website and give him your support. Sonixinema's new baby is over 1 gigabyte of hybrid sounds based on samples from a Swiss music box. This is called Memory Box. It's got 30 single presets, 20 multis, and runs in the full version of Kontakt 5.5 and above. Now, I know there are loads of different music box sample libraries on the market. In fact, I did a big rundown of all of these in Samplecast 38, so do check that out if you want to hear a comparison of one music box against another. That said, I did really appreciate the sounds here. There are some unusual bowed and hybrid patches, and some of the more plucky sounding ones could have been taken directly from Ed Sheeran's Shape of You track. It's got that kind of vibe, very plucky, very modern sounding. There are useful onboard controls here for different convolution effects. You've got grit and click levels as well. Do check it out at the link in the show notes. Lastly, the old broken piano from Sampletraxx. This new release from them runs in the full version of Kontakt using the Forge engine, and it's also available as a set of WAV files. So think that this is more on the kind of sound design tip rather than a playable instrument, although there are certainly aspects of it that you can play. They've taken a 1940s piano and played it using sticks, bows and kitchen utensils and lots of other random items to create more than 140 hits, scrapes and abstract textures. They've also manipulated the raw sounds and designed over 110 sound design files ready to be dropped into hybrid scores and trailer tracks. There's more information about this. Do check the link in the show notes, which will take you to the Sampletraxx website. So welcome to this week's bargains, and you can't have failed to notice the many deals that I've posted from Audio Plugin Deals over the last few years. They normally put together massively discounted bundles from developers that last for just 2 weeks and then they're gone forever. Well, no more. They have released an extension to their site called The Shop, and this features many of their previous deals plus a whole bunch of other ones on permanent sale. If you've ever bought anything from Audio Plugin Deals before, just log into their site and you'll see how much reward money that you've accumulated from previous purchases, and you can use this to get discounts on the shop bundles. I think it's pretty nice that they're giving away rewards for historical purchases, so do log in to have a look and see if you've got any money to spend. You can also give them a Facebook shout out, which will earn you an automatic $20, and there are full details of the system and how this new shop works in the show notes. Next up, Galaxy S from Best Service. This is a synth and sampling toolkit, which is getting on a bit. It's a little bit long in the tooth, but I have to say it's still got legs. It's got some great sounds which can be manipulated with the 1400 convolution impulses on board. So it's a really good sound design tool for mangling the 15 gigabytes of included loops and playable instruments. Even putting aside the synth and sound design aspects for a minute, the raw samples themselves are excellent, and I spent a good hour or two playing through them, and to be honest, I nowhere near scratched the surface. Galaxy X is currently available for 65% off via VST Buzz at just €82. Do click the link in the show description for details. And lastly, a product that I've featured before, but it's got an enormous discount this week, so it's basically a no-brainer. This is 80% off Stigmatized Drummer from Stigmatized Productions. This runs in the full version of Contact 5, and it contains the full product, which is basically some very extensive drum sampling and 6 additional groove packs for various different styles of music. In my opinion, Stigmatized Drummer is a bit of an unloved gem, but it's great to see it on sale, especially at this huge discount. And now this is just $18 over at Gear Plugs Deals. This week's big review covers the much anticipated Jaeger from Audio Imperia. This company are very well known for their excellent sound design libraries and brilliant percussion, but this is their first foray into sampling a full orchestra. It's a 45GB collection, that's the uncompressed size, and this runs in the full version of Contact 5.5.2 and above. It doesn't run in the Contact player. Jaeger downloads using the Continuata Connect tool, which unusually I didn't have any issues with this time around, so that's great. Maybe they've updated that. The library is split into strings, brass percussion, solo vocals and sound design, and each of these folders contains patches for multiple articulations controlled by key switch, and there are individual patches for each articulation as well. Personally, I'd find these useful in my specific template, but obviously you've got the choice of those 2 different options. A couple of things you do need to know about the library: there are no second violins here, the violins are all combined, and also there's no woodwinds. The interface is pretty straightforward, with mostly everything there on the main window, including mixing controls. You've got 4 individual mic positions which you can mix, or there's a pre-mixed position as well. There are also functions for velocity curve, legato interval tweaking and dynamics. And you can also use the central big knob to introduce up to 7 simultaneous effects. Lastly, there's a send effects section which can be used alongside the key switch triggers to automate volume, panning and filters via step sequencers. So let's have a little listen to Jaeger in action. There's a lot to love in this library, and I spent many hours playing with a huge smile on my face, just going through the articulations, going through the sounds, and really having a blast. I'll get specific for a minute. So firstly, there's a nice smooth legato on virtually all the orchestral instruments. Although latency does become a little bit of an issue between notes, you might want to tweak the legato setting in the menu to adjust that. The articulations are just the main basic ones, but often that's all you need for hybrid trailing scoring, which is squarely where this product is aimed. The brutal and powerful percussion has the ability to play rolls on the mod wheel. I do love that. And I also love the individual articulation patches, which, as I said before, they work well in my template. The interface is great, it's nice to look at and makes things very flexible, so it's really easy to move the key switch and playable ranges around to suit you. The percussion has two sets of patches, one that compensates for the percussion being at the back of the room and one that doesn't, and I did appreciate that as well. It was nice to be able to push that percussion back just by using different patches. I also love the FX and big knob functions. These are useful and really easy to tweak, although they are using the onboard contact effects, which some people love, some people don't. Personally, I've not got a problem with them. I especially appreciated the panning and volume effect sequences, and they made it really easy to add tempo synced gating to any patch. That's useful for kind of transformer noises, that sort of thing. On the sound design side, I did also love being able to change the EQ, the filters, the pitch and sample start points, not only of the entire patch, but also of individual sounds within the engine. That's a big plus and something that a couple of developers, naming no names, have not been able to pull off in the last couple of years. Overall, this library is excellent and hits its intended target as a scoring tool for powerful pieces. That said, there are a few things that I'd have liked to have seen, although do bear in mind that these things are all pretty minor niggles in the grand scheme of things. First of all, considering the price point, I do think that Audio Imperia could have sprung for contact player licensing. Perhaps there'll be an upgrade in the future for this as they find how successful the library is going to be. I really do hope so. Not all the articulations fit in the display of the UI, so you have to scroll left and right to see some of these. That's a little bit of an annoyance, and actually to begin with it made me miss out on a few articulations. I didn't really realise they were there. Also, these articulations aren't really consistent in their mapping and in their selections. So for example, there's no pizzicato or sordino for strings, and there's no legato for some of the patches, but there are for some of the other ones. There's also no tonguing for the brass. Those little brass rips and brass tongues, that's something that I would have appreciated to be in there, something that I do find typical of trailer scoring. So for a library primarily focused on this type of scoring, I would have also expected a choir. Even a really simple one would have been great, not just solo vocals. Speaking of the vocals, these can't be easily truncated or the sample start points changed as far as I could tell. That's definitely something I'd like to see in an update, maybe loading those phrases into the sound design engine where you've got a lot more options. There are also a few sound design samples that have periods of silence at the beginning of them, but you can easily fix this with the sample start point adjustment. As I say, all of these things, minor niggles, but things that I'd like to see improved in an update. So what's the verdict on Jaeger? Well, I think it's a remarkable achievement for Audio Imperia. This is their first full library incorporating orchestral instruments, but you never know it from the classy way that they've pulled it off. It's generally bug-free with an easy-to-use and visually striking interface, and the samples have been mostly well recorded, although at times I can tell that some of the louder dynamic material is at the very limit of the player's ranges, and there are a few odd noises scattered about here and there. Jaeger is entering an increasingly crowded marketplace with the ARC series from Orchestral Tools and 8DO's Majestica. These are already established names. However, based on the quality of the samples, their implementation and the thoughtful design, I can see Jaeger quickly carving out its own fanbase. Of course, the price point is going to be prohibitive for some at $600 or so, but if you've got the cash and you're starting out fresh in trailer or hybrid scoring, Jaeger covers almost everything you need in one hit, so it's a big thumbs up from me. A couple of really useful updates this week. The first is from Chocolate Audio and it's Uproar Volume 2. This is the second volume of their 8-string baritone guitar loop libraries. And there are 1,872 phrases in total here. These are the new ones, which amount to just over 3 GB of content, running in the full version of Kontakt 5.5.2 and above. With this release, the guys at Chocolate Audio have updated their Chocomatic phrasing engine, and this is now version 2, and this introduces sample offset delay, mod wheel volume control, and phrase preview options. Uproar 1 and 2 and the Uproar bundle are currently discounted as well, so do check out the Chocolate Audio website for details. A quick mention for Samplephonics Noiiz platform, which has added a useful new feature, and you can now upload your own samples to the database and use the Noiiz DNA function to locate similar sounds. I'm really interested to see where this platform heads. Do take a look at www.noiiz.com for more info. So after Loopmasters, the Looploft and Samplephonics, finally Native Instruments have jumped on the all-you-can-eat sample subscription model, and they've started beta testing sounds.com, which includes all the loops and one-shots from their various machine expansions, in addition to samples from over 200 different sample library suppliers. So that's over 500,000 sounds in total. At the moment, this service is only available to customers in the USA, and it's $9.99 a month for the full library, but there is a more limited free database available as well. Do check out the Native Instruments news blog post at the link in the show notes, and this will give you full details about the new subscription model.
Once you find what you're looking for, downloading is instant. Or simply save your sounds to your library to check out later.
Thanks so much for watching the show. I won't be here next week, but I will be over at NAMM, so if you're planning to visit LA anytime over the course of the NAMM show, do hunt me down and bend my ear about pretty much anything you want to. I will be here in a couple of weeks' time. Thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye now.